Hi everybody, and welcome to Geospatial 510, Geospatial Research Methods for Graduate Students. I'm going to be your instructor. My name is Jim Graham, and I've been a professor here at Humboldt State for about 8 years. I've done a lot of GIS work for about the last 20 years. I actually went to Chico and got my bachelor's degrees in computer science and math, and then worked for Hewlett Packard for about 15 years. And then I had my own company for a while, and then went back to school at Colorado State, where I happened to be, got my PhD, and then ended up out here. So in this video, I'm just going to give you a quick view of some of the materials, and especially the syllabus, to hit some of the key points that we need to go over. To do that, I've got my screen up, and I'm just going to go to Google. And I know some of you may be, go to humboldt.edu. Some of you may be new to the HSU website and to Canvas. So I'm going to go to My Humboldt. You'll be asked to log in. I've already logged in a couple times today. And then we see Canvas down here. Your screen may be a little different because it'll be a student view instead of faculty. And you'll get some reminders that we should probably look at, but I'm going to make it go away right now. And then I'm just going to come right down to 510. So here's our course, or you can go over here and go 510. Also really important is the calendar, because the calendar will show you when things are due. So they'll show up nice and red. There's a course that I took over the summer. And you can already see there's our first assignment and quiz that are due in 510. Okay, because yep, we will have a lab the first week of class. Okay, so I'm going to go to the 510 homepage. And you're going to see some information, and you're going to see that that's messed up. That should look better. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so this is the video that I just sent you a link to and that you're watching right now, so you may not need to go there. Okay, so we're in Canvas. I'm going to use Canvas for grades and probably some discussion and some online quizzes and some other things. But we are also going to be using this website quite a bit. This actually has the learning modules for each week. So like here's our first learning module. Please go there, go through this. When you click on this, you'll see the material for this week. It's called a learning module. All the stuff to go through, including some videos and some PowerPoints. I'll go over this a little bit in quote unquote in person, but you'll also want to use the YouTube videos, because the in-person meetings, quote unquote in person, so over Zoom or in person, will be discussion focused and answering questions rather than focusing on the video. That's called a flipped mode, where the idea is that you study outside of the class and then bring questions, and we'll do discussions in class so we can really clarify anything that folks are struggling with, as well as focus on discussion like, what does this mean? Like, how does this impact our research? How do we become good researchers given all the issues that are going to be thrown in front of us? Okay, so going back to Canvas, we're also going to have a Google Drive folder, which we'll use quite a bit, especially during online discussions. And what else? YouTube channel. Yes, I am now a YouTube star. Not something I really planned in my life, but I have a lot of YouTube videos now. We did them last year because we were completely online. I've left them up because they're up to date, and students seem to like them, at least as a resource. So there's an entire channel now of YouTube videos for this class. And I will put the individual videos into the appropriate places so you know where to go for them. Okay, so we're going to be using ArcGIS Pro. One of the big issues students deal with is getting access to ArcGIS Pro. If you have a Macintosh or a Chromebook or another non-MS Windows good computer locally for you to work with, you're probably going to want to use the virtual machine. The problem with the virtual machine is it requires a good internet connection. So you're going to need one or the other, either a good internet connection or a good Windows machine to use ArcGIS Pro. The library is also planning on being open, so we're going to have the library, and I'm assuming we'll have our GIS labs open as well. So you will be able to come on campus and get access to our good performing computers. And I say good performing because GIS doesn't require a killer computer anymore. A good laptop or a good desktop are going to be fine. with 4 gig of RAM. Doesn't need to be a super game machine or anything. So the virtual lab is there. It allows you to go into our servers, the HSU servers, and access the ArcGIS Pro software on a server, even if you've just got a Chromebook. And quite honestly, you can do it on your phone if you want to, which I don't really recommend. You do want to have a good internet connection or a good computer. Now, if those cause some issues, or if you have a Macintosh, which I know some of you do, and you want to use it, you can use QGIS. It's an alternative to ArcGIS Pro, and it's a good product. It's free. It's open source. I use it regularly, almost as much as I use ArcGIS Pro. And the only problem with it is the whole class is going to be working ArcGIS Pro. So if you're in a QGIS, only a few students will be using that. And we do end up with a fair number of graduate students that, like me, switch back and forth between ArcGIS Pro and QGIS, depending on what they're doing. If you're going to take a GIS application in the field, I actually recommend QGIS because it doesn't have the licensing issues that we are constantly dealing with ArcGIS Pro. So this is the most important technical thing for you to get out of the way the first week, because we're going to be diving right into a lab on Friday of the first week. You'll need to have ArcGIS Pro or QGIS up and running at that point so you can work on it. And of course, you can come into the lab. We're still planning on having face-to-face. Oh wait, no, the first 2 weeks we're not going to have face-to-face. It's all going to be online. So you will need ArcGIS Pro either on your local computer or through the VLab, or like I said, if you really want to, QGIS. And if you're going to use QGIS, I recommend you hit the online tutorials pretty quickly unless you're already pretty fluent with it, so you can kind of get ahead. It's like I said, everyone else will be in ArcGIS Pro. Okay, there's some additional material here. We will be starting with Zoom meetings and getting to know each other there for the first couple of weeks, and then hopefully we'll be face-to-face with most of the class. We will see how all that goes, because of course we're going to have to play it by ear a little bit. All right, syllabus. So really quickly on the syllabus, bunch of information here. A lot of it around when we're meeting. Of course, that's going to show up in your calendar, and you're going to have it here in Canvas. So the main thing is let you know that the best way to get a hold of me is my email. I live on email. I'm on it all the time. You can call me, or some people do that text thing, but that's my office phone, so that won't really work. So email is definitely the best way to get a hold of me. And then we'll set up a meeting if we need to, or I'll respond to you. And really quickly on email, we'll be emailing the class back and forth, because I found that's the best way to get students answers when they're struggling, right? You're struggling with something, you want to get an assignment done, you're hitting some weird error. Best thing to do is email the whole class, right? Because someone else may come back with an answer faster than I can. And really quickly in this class, folks are going to be good at ArcGIS. And it's such a large program. There's so many different pieces to it. You're going to find tips and tricks in ArcGIS that I don't know about. So we'll be emailing the whole class, and we'll do that the first week. Okay. Again, please contact me by email. I'm not going to go through a lot of this in detail. Okay, just let you know that this is a fairly intense class. Okay, it's mostly undergraduate material. 5 GSP 101 and GSP 270. When I initially created the class, I took those two classes together and crammed them into 510. And then the graduate students took the class, gave me feedback saying, we want more graduate level geospatial content. So I added that too. And I massaged it over the years, but you can see there's a lot of learning outcomes. And that's because the class is structured for you to be able to take one class, this one, and then you won't have to take 101 or 270. You can go right into the other geospatial classes, which we have quite a few of, and I'll tell you about them later in the semester. But to do that, you've got to have a fair amount of background. And then there's also some graduate research background in there as well. So it's changed over time. And you guys will change it. You'll see actually that students contribute to the class, and that's something I encourage. Okay. So again, week by week activities. When you go up to the website, you will see these weekly blocks, these learning modules. Most of the material you want to look at will be in here, okay? And so not in Canvas's modules, but instead on the website, okay? Every once in a while somebody asks me what will be tested on. Well, just about anything. So I will test you on the most important stuff and the things that I see as really critical, and you will hear those things over and over again. So don't worry too much because we also don't have tests. We just have quizzes. Okay, learning modules have a bunch of different things in them: readings, presentations, discussions, labs, other stuff. Most of the other stuff is optional. And also you'll see there's a lot of material. Now, I've identified the things that are optional. Go through the material that's not optional. Some of you will go through it pretty quickly because you've got a GS background and some of it's old hat for you. Others of you will be new to this and you'll need to go through it in more detail. But there's videos, there's websites, there's all kinds of materials. So shouldn't be a problem getting the material you need. You might have a problem finding the material you need, especially if you've got some GS experience, but then some holes to fill. Again, feel free to email me or the class, and we'll make sure we point you to the right material. Readings, especially the website, that's the critical material. Those learning modules, especially when you go into learning module and you see presentations, these are the actual class presentations that I will go through when we meet face-to-face or in Zoom. I'll just use them as a reference. And then YouTube videos of me walking through the key points in those presentations. Okay, and then here's a lab. That's really where you'll spend most of your time. Plan on spending a fair bit of time in the lab. So it's like 2 hours of outside work for each hour of lab or something. So 6, 8, some people spend 12 hours on some labs. Some will take longer than others. This one you'll probably get through fairly quickly. But you will need to spend time outside of lab as well as in lab working on the labs, okay? And the lab times are really there for you to not only work on the lab, but ask questions and you know, take care of any issues you're gonna have before you head off on your own. We'll do discussions. There won't be a lot of visiting experts in this class, maybe 1 or 2. I usually do more, but we've got a lot of material to cover, so I focus on that. The labs are really the core of what we're doing, as are your lab reports, and they're the biggest part of your grade. Okay? Of course, online, the biggest thing out of online is if you have trouble, put an ITS ticket in, put it in quickly. If you have trouble getting to the virtual lab, which you'll happens every semester, if you have trouble with the internet, getting to campus internet, submit a ticket, click here. If it's, put in the information that's here. And then if it's urgent, make sure you set the severity as high. Okay, if it's not, please don't set it to high. But if you're stuck trying to get an assignment done, that's an urgent thing. Okay, so that's high, time sensitive. Need to let ITS know, and they are getting really good at responding quickly and fixing problems. And they will do all kinds of things to get you set up, including they'll even give you hotspots for your local house if you need it. They have Chromebooks available that you can check out. I think they have notebook computers you can check out. They are really dedicated to making everyone successful, which is awesome and really important to us. Okay, so, and again, you can also email me, but ITS is going to be faster at fixing your internet and computer problems. If it's a software problem with the GIS software, that comes to me, okay? Or the class again. Quizzes. Just going to cover recent material, could be anything. They're going to be online through Canvas, and I tend to keep them pretty easy, so don't worry too much about them. They're really there to encourage you and give you a check on the material that's online and making sure you're retaining it over the course of the semester. Instead of having a final at the end of the semester, we're going to have a project. Students seem to get more out of that, and I do as well. And then you'll do a presentation at the end of the project instead of a final. Don't worry too much about your projects. It can be part of your thesis, and I recommend that, or part of your research interest. The only thing to worry about right now is if it's going to take a while to get your data, you want to start getting the data now. In fact, one of the most common projects is folks just pulling together their data and analyzing the quality of the data and the completeness as their project for this class, and then that's the data that becomes their data for their thesis. Please be professional. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Not really a big issue, except please attend the sessions. Please turn on your video when you can, you know, and participate. That's what we're looking for. And that's professionalism, because you're going to be measured on that, not only in this class, but after you graduate and are working professionally, which I know a fair number are as well. There is no textbook required. I've created all the material on the web that you need, but this is a good book. There's a lot of good books out there. This one stands out as being inexpensive and comprehensive. Just a ton of material for a good price. I still use it as a reference periodically. All right, here's the grading. Again, labs are the biggest portion, then the quizzes and the project, and then a little bit for professionalism. Grading is pretty much standard grading, and I think I've only had to curve a class once since I've worked at HSU, so not too much worry about that, but there's the grading levels. Okay, one of the biggest things that students struggle with that impacts their grades is having a lot of small errors in their reports. So I put this in because they were struggling with that, so I said, okay, well, here's the rubric that I use when I go through your reports. In other words, you can lose 10 points just by leaving your name and the date off of a report. And notice I don't ask for the class name. That doesn't need to be on your report because I'm training you to create reports that would be a professional report that you would do at an agency or another research organization. So that's not required. Some students put it on. I don't care about it too much, but your author and the dates are really important. Those need to be there. Same thing with spatial reference, misspellings. I'm a really bad speller, but that's why we have spell check. Missing citations, okay? And these are the maximum points that I will take off per incident. If you do something like use something without defining an acronym, I'll only take you off for 2 points first time it's taken off. First time it's for the first acronym that wasn't defined. But if you have 5 acronyms that aren't defined, that adds up to 10 points. Suddenly you've dropped a whole grade. So take a look at this and we'll talk more about it later. Okay, late assignments. Please make sure that you have a good excuse. That can be medical emergencies, death in the family, attending a professional conference or seminar. All those are fine, but I do need to know about it. Need to know about it ahead of time. And then when you turn in the assignment, please make a note so you make sure that I hear about it. I don't have a lot of issues with academic integrity. Just know that I encourage you all to work together and help each other. At the same time, you need to do your own work. We will do some things as teams. Okay, and I'll identify which is the team part and which is the individual part. There's some stuff still going on for COVID. We do need to have you wearing face masks in class. And this is just policy from HSU that they required me to put in here. If you show up without a mask, I am going to stop you and ask you to put one on. I will probably have them there with me, as well as sanitizing stuff if you need and want it. Okay? And then they put a whole bunch of stuff up on a syllabus resource page so that I didn't have to put it in here, which is great. It makes my syllabus shorter. Please go there, especially if you have any accommodations that you need. Please let me know about them ahead of time. I will accommodate students as much as I can. My goal is to get all of you through this class and to be successful. And I really want you all to get a high grade and love GIS and go on to do research that includes spatial data and methods. So I'm motivated to help you, but I got to know what you need. So let me know what you need and I'll be there, okay? Just some notes on how to be successful. And note that we're going to do stuff in lab, but the more time you spend outside of lab working with the GIS software, the more comfortable you become, the easier it'll get for you. And honestly, the more you're going to enjoy doing it as opposed to being frustrated. These are some hints that I have for you. This is literally how I motivate myself, especially to do things like grading that I don't really like doing. I will grade as long as I can until my brain is fried, and then I'll go eat some chocolate or go for a walk or something, and then I'll come back and I'll do more grading. Learn what works for you, figure out how you need to treat yourself so that you're not as stressed out, you know, and having fun and getting things done that you like or don't like, but really supporting yourself and also looking for others' support and how you can get things done, okay? Because this shouldn't be a brutally painful experience. Graduate school can be hard, it can be stressful, it will be, but there's ways to make sure that you're healthy and happy as you go through it. Relatively happy. Some guidelines on online discussion forums, again from the university. And then just to make sure, people forget their names regularly. please make sure you put your name and date on it. One of my rules is take the 20 minutes is the longest you should try and solve a problem before getting help. In this class, it happens a lot. People will get into the GS software, something will break. I've had students come to me and say, I kept trying the same thing over and over again and I couldn't get it to work. I'm like, yeah, don't do that, right? If you get stuck and you take more than 20 minutes, stop. At least do something different, okay? Send out an email to the class. Email me. Get up and take a walk. I'm often just doing that. I'm breaking my brain out of that locked up state. Suddenly I come back and I'm like, oh, I can do that this way. Okay, so those are all things you can do to make it easier for you to keep from getting stuck, because that gets really frustrating for you. And then turn in whatever you have on the assignment and move on to the next assignment. In other words, if you're not getting it done, you're stuck, turn it in. Okay, I'll grade it, I'll mark you down. If you turn it in again, I'll give you back some of those points, okay? But I don't want you to fall behind when the rest of the class is working on the next assignment. Okay, we want to work together as a team. Make sure you cite stuff. Okay, so looking forward to see all of you soon. Have a good day.